Hello, my name's Ricky and welcome to my channel Gig in 60 Seconds. And today I'm going to talk about how I first got into Guns N' Roses and what I like about them and my favourite songs, etc. So the first time I heard Guns N' Roses music was through my friend Paul Laverty. He had Appetite for Destruction album and we used to listen to that a lot when we were down there playing his computer, playing Champ Manager. And that would be on in the background. It was a cassette, you'd play the 6 songs and it would flip over and play the next 6 songs. And I have to say, when I heard this, what an album that is. You would do well to find another debut album by a band with so many great songs on it. I would put up a strong case for that being one of the best debut albums of all time. Certainly that I have ever heard. There isn't a weak song on that album, in my opinion. It starts off with Welcome to the Jungle. It's really strong, and then It's So Easy, and then one of my favourites, Night Train, third track on it, and it just continues, Without to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City. Well, you know the tracks if you've listened to it. So it was 1988 when Appetite for Destruction was released. And I must admit, I had never actually known what the band looks like. I hadn't seen any magazine pictures or anything like that. So the first time that I actually saw what they looked like was when a boy in school by the name of Alistair McIntosh gave me a loan of a video recording of Live at the Ritz, which was filmed, I believe, in New York in 1988. It was about 9 or 10 tracks long. This later appeared on Headbangers Ball, I believe, which was a show on MTV, aired late at night. So yeah, that was the first time that I had seen their appearance, all of them with their long hair. And it was good to finally put an image to the sound that I've been listening to for ages. A few years later, when I had my paper round, I could afford to buy the album myself, so I had my own copy of it. And I would put that on in my Walkman when I would be going around delivering the papers. I thought this was so cool. Just delivering the papers was suddenly fun because you could listen to this album. It would just flip over when it got to the end of the side. Then, shortly after that, I managed to be able to buy my first ever T-shirt, which was the classic Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction cover. Not the band one, but the one from said album there. I just thought this was the coolest thing ever. Although I remember my mum at the time saying, "What do you want that for? That's horrible. It's got skulls on it." But to me, this was so cool. This was the first T-shirt I had owned. I remember saying at the time, I'm going to wear this T-shirt every time I listen to them. But of course, that never happened. So the next album that I listened to was the Guns N' Roses Lies double EP. Some would argue that was before Appetite for Destruction, but I think it's classed as a double EP looking through Wikipedia, and as a stopgap between the Appetite for Destruction and the Use Your Illusions album. There is some pretty cool tracks on it. I got this album as a hand-me-down from my next door neighbour at the time, which was nice of him. I remember spending quite a bit of time just looking at the front sleeve on it, where it was these kind of make-believe tabloid headlines. I thought it was pretty cool. And the album itself was quite enjoyable. The first 3 tracks, Reckless Life's Nice Boy Moved to the City, and 4th track, Mama Kin, have that kind of live feeling to them, although I do believe that the sound was dubbed onto it. On the reverse of it, you've got Patience, which is obviously a main staple of the live shows, and Axl with that famous whistling intro to it, which everybody tries to copy. I'm not a good whistler, so it doesn't work well for me. And the controversial 1 in a Million on the album as well. And there's a slow version of You're Crazy, which appears in Appetite for Destruction at the faster speed. Okay, so moved to my first purchase of an actual single by Guns N' Roses, and it was this cassette single of You Could Be Mine. And this was obviously featured on the movie Terminator 2, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favourite films even to this day. I remember going to a local cinema down in Muir End, watching this, and this song features in the background when John Connor's on the motorbike and he's going with his pal and they're going to the auto teller to get easy money to go and play in the arcade machine. This was great to hear these couple of tracks. It's Civil War on the B-side, and for a while I was probably favouring that over You Could Be Mine. Just it went on, and you've got Axl at the beginning doing the what we've got here is failure to communicate. I thought that was like so cool, just like he's kind of done some of the intros to Patience with the whistling. I thought him doing that in Civil War was quite cool. So then we come to 1991 and Use Your Illusions 1 and 2 were released. Now my mate Paul Laverty got a copy of these on release date. I didn't have enough money to get the copies of it, so again we would listen to those albums down there. We actually started with Use Your Illusion 2 first before 1, and obviously 2 albums at the one time. There was so many tracks to try and get used to and enjoy. If I had to choose some favourites off the Use Your Illusions 2 album, then obviously You Could Be Mine, Civil War. But I think the standout one on there is Estranged. It's just a masterpiece, and one of my most successful uploads on my YouTube channel is a short clip of that. It'd be great if you could check that out at some point. On the Use Your Illusion 1 album, several tracks in there as well that are really good and sort of stand out. Probably Coma right at the end of the album, and I think it's quoted as saying that's one of Slash's favourite ones to play, just because I think of the guitar solo stuff on that. So you've got Coma, November Rain, obviously classic with the Axl and the piano, and also like Back Off Bitch and Bad Obsession. So I loved these 2 albums, and I went to HMV on the back of it and bought the Use Your Illusion t-shirt, which is about £15 or so back then, which was a lot of money. I know it doesn't sound a lot now, but back then it was, when a normal t-shirt was say £10, this was 15. But it was a tea-dye sort of t-shirt that I had. It was basically the Use Your Illusions 1 red and yellow album cover in the front, and in the back it was a Use Your Illusions 2. Now I'm sporting something kind of similar today, but it's not the one that I had. I don't know what happened to the one that I had. I think it's get tossed out to, charity shops. Unfortunately for my sins, when I look at it now on eBay, I can see there's versions of it going for like £400 or £500. Like, kick myself for that. Somebody's very lucky somewhere. So then there's obviously a gap before Guns N' Roses released any other material. They do have the Spaghetti Incident, which I bought the album of, and I had the cassette single of Ain't It Fun with Down on the Farm. Now, as far as albums go, I think it's quite a good one. It's a covers album. I was desperate to sort of hear any new material by Guns N' Roses. When I say any new material, I mean just sort of sung by Axl and played by Slash. Now, obviously, these are all cover songs on it, but there is quite a few good ones on that. Hair of the Dog, Buick McCain, Human Being, Raw Power, sang by Duff on it. So it has its critics, folks saying it's the worst album, but I quite like it. I still give it a play from time to time. So obviously there was various splits and fallings out that everybody will know with Axl and Slash and the other members of the band. So Guns N' Roses had disbanded, and I thought, I'm never going to get to see the band play together. However, I did get to see Guns N' Roses in 2006. It was fronted by Axl, and they played at the Scottish Exhibition and Convent Centre. They were supported by Bullet for My Valentine in that show, which was a band that I was really into at that time. And I'll look to do a feature video on them at some point. I can't really remember that much from the gig itself. I was quite a bit back, I remember, from the View, And from memory, as typical Axl back then, he was late on stage. I think he might have been like an hour late. I think there was rumours of him demanding a steak dinner or something before going on stage, something ridiculous like that. And I'm sure it had another 11 o'clock curfew, so I don't think we got the full hour out it. I need to look back in set list to see what songs were sung that day. But certainly it wasn't featuring, obviously, Slash or Duff. So this was the nearest that was going to get to Guns N' Roses. You know, it had Axl on it. So for me, after that concert in Glasgow in 2006, next up was we finally got the releasing of Chinese Democracy in 2008, after what had been like, I think, a 10-year wait for the album. I remember most people thinking this is never going to come out. There was even rumours of Dr. Pepper promising to give everybody a free can of Dr. Pepper in the USA if they released the album by the end of the year, which they did. Whether or not they made good on that promise, I don't know. And whether you would want a can of Dr. Pepper is up for question as well. I don't like the stuff personally. Anyway, the album itself, favourite tracks on it are Better and Shackler's Revenge. I like the sort of first 5-6 tracks in the album, and then I think it gets a bit weaker as it goes on. Maybe I just need to listen to it more. So then we come to actually getting to see Guns N' Roses. This finally happened for me in 2023. They were playing Bellahouston Park. They'd been meant to play a few years earlier than this. However, due to COVID for a couple of years and then Axl's ill health, it had been pushed back. So it eventually happened. The gig itself was quite far back. I do have quite a lot of footage from this on my channel, quite a lot of shorts, and I've got full-length videos off my top of my head from Night Train and Paradise City. I've got most of Civil War. So check that out if you wish. It was going to be a good gig as soon as it kicked off when we heard It's So Easy. And I thought, wow, I remember this kind of sensation coming over me, like this is really happening, because I just didn't think it would ever happen, getting to see Axl, Slash and Duff all together. And I had seen them like 3 days earlier at Glastonbury in television, and Axl's voice and the band itself didn't sound too good. But whether it was just the euphoria on the night from actually seeing them, but I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought the sound was excellent at the stadium itself. Yes, there are some moments in some of the songs where Axl on some notes goes a bit wanting on it, but I mean, the guy's 61, 62, it's to be expected. It still didn't detract from the gig for me personally. In terms of my favourite tracks from Guns N' Roses of all time, if I was to narrow it down to a top 3, first track is Estranged off Use Your Illusions 2. I just think it's a masterpiece. It's almost 9 minutes long and it goes on up and down in choruses, and it's just a fantastic track. Second song is Night Train from Appetite for Destruction. I mean, there are so many good songs in that, and obviously a lot of them have been played to death, like Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, etc. But I just love Night Train. It's just the start of that intro where it's douche, 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 down, and then coming in with the guitar, and then you've got the guitar solos through it. So that's my second favourite. Third, this is a toughie. I'd probably go with You Could Be Mine from Use Your Illusion 2. Just been swayed by the fact that I did buy the cassette single from it. And any time I hear that song, I just think of Terminator 2 film and that video, because I did love that film, and I think the two go hand in hand. You know, that way that musical has a special connection where if you hear a song, you can picture it with an image or a moment in time in your life. And for me, that song goes hand in hand with that album. And I love the video itself. You've got clips from the film. That's my favourite 3 songs. So just going to finish this video off by saying that I'm pleased that I managed to get to see Guns N' Roses, because you never know what the future holds, whether there's going to be another breakup and they don't tour anymore. I'm certain that they probably wouldn't come back to Glasgow. If they come to the UK, it would probably be London or download. So I might never get to see them again. I do have a big birthday coming up in 3 years' time. I'll be 50. So if they did play somewhere in Europe in the summertime, I would be interested in maybe going to that, getting to see them again, somewhere warm, unlike Glasgow where it's always raining. If you've enjoyed this video, then let me know in the comments below. It would be interesting to hear what your favourite songs are. If you've seen Guns N' Roses before, did you see them on the most recent tour? Are you still going to see them? Anything at all, let me know your views on it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a great day.